Owens! Owens! Nurse Mulligan, a freckled-faced, green-eyed demon, shouted my last name as if I were in a military lineup. "It's time for your medicine," she continued, mockingly singing in an irritating nasal tone. Hovering over me and rousing me from sleep, she then yanked my bedding aside without care nor courtesy of exposing my frail, underdressed exterior. Annoyed, I slowly opened my eyes and attempted to focus, still overstimulated by the previous day's medication. There appeared to be 3 fuzzy-looking Nurse Mulligans standing in the small blank room that I could not recall re-entering. Then again, all my days were routine and mundane. The cafeteria, the day room, Dr. Davis's office, the East Lawn, my bed, lockdown, drugs, and more drugs. It was 1994, but even then, most of the staff at the Long Island Psychiatric Center where I resided showed no empathy toward an insane Black woman. An inmate doped with expensive drugs was a free ride for the state and a death sentence for me. It was all one big masquerade. "Mary, focus," the rational voice inside my cluttered mind sternly related, bringing me back to myself. I shook my head so violently it cleared my vision, helping to identify the lengthy needle in Nurse Mulligan's hand. Die, die, die. The frightening thoughts that also occupied my mind relentlessly chanted. I wanted to respond, but my mouth, dry and twisted with chapped lips, didn't cooperate with my scrambled thoughts. My speech, limited and slurred, sounded like that of a babbling fool. I wanted to hold the she-devil back, so I cringed but quickly realized my body and hands were harnessed to the bed. The overwhelming feeling of defeat crowded me, and this is why they labeled me crazy. I gritted my teeth, growling in anger. The same exasperating feelings I dealt with every day. Desperate, tormented, and alone. Nurse Mulligan laughed while tapping bubbles out of the syringe. I swiftly studied my harness situation, thinking the same thoughts I felt each day. Maybe I can free myself. Perhaps there's a break or a tear in the fabric bonding me down. This can possibly be the day the old battle axe grows a heart and releases me. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. If I was crazy, so were they. Nurse Mulligan took a step closer. Her pregnant belly brushed against my arm before she touched me. I often wondered about the poor schmuck that impregnated her. Sleeping with her had to be his own personal hell. Her outward looks were a poor representation of the inward beast, a misguidance of character, just like the fancy cross she wore. "No," I managed to mumble as she neared. Think, I continued, trying to encourage myself to come up with a plan of escape. "Come now, Owens, let's not fight today," Nurse Mulligan suggested, but still ushered 2 orderlies over. "Doctor's orders, don't you know?" She added in an intolerable Irish accent, preparing an entry for the needle with an alcohol swab. I thrust my body vigorously up and down on the paper-thin mattress where I laid, then back and forth against the cold metal bed railings, causing the harness to grow tighter against my chest. Defenseless, I shook my head in disagreement while pleading and kicking the bedding to the floor. Think, I continued to mutter until thinking wasn't an option. Laughing, Nurse Mulligan in a white tent-size uniform appeared to quadruple in number as she documented her victory. "Now, don't you feel better?" she asked, observing my dilated pupils with her face hanging inches above mine. If I could have mustered up the saliva, I would have spat in her face. Uglass bitch. I managed to relate with the utmost contempt expressed upon my drawn face. I hated her as she hated me, and that is how it's been for the past 10 years. The sensation of the cold medication rushed through my veins, taking its effect. I closed my eyes as Nurse Mulligan, appalled by my insult, huffed, collected her troop of orderlies, and stormed away. Ain't nothing good ever gonna come by ya. You too much like your diddy, no good for sure and damn right good for nothing. I could hear the grandmother saying as I drifted off. The same lies she used to speak over me, holding my spirit hostage from the very beginning.